7 cents. That was all. She had only aside 1 cent and then another and then another. In her careful buying of meat and other food, Della counted it 3 times. $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was nothing to do but fall on the bed and cry. With that chain on his watch, Jim could look at his watch and learn the time anywhere he might be. Though the watch was so fine, it had never had a fine chain. He sometimes took it out and looked at it only when no one could see him with it. When Bella arrived home, her mind quieted a little. She began to think more reasonably. She started to try to cover the sad marks of what she had done. Love and large-hearted giving, when added together, can leave deep marks. It is never easy to cover these marks. Dear friends, never easy. Within 4 minutes, her head looked a little better. With her short hair, she looked wonderfully like a schoolboy. She stood at the looking glass for a long time. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, before he looks at me a second time, he'll say I look like a girl who sings and dances for money. But what could I do? Oh, what could I do with $1.87? At 7, Jim's dinner was ready for him. Jim was never late. Della held the watch chain in her hand and sat near the door where he always entered. Then she heard his step in the hall and her face lost color for a moment. She often said little prayers quietly about simple everyday things. And now she said, please God, make him think I'm still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in. He looked very thin and he was not smiling. Poor fellow, he was only 22 and he had a family to take care of. He needed a new coat and he had nothing to cover his cold hands. Jim stopped inside the door. He was as quiet as a hunting dog when it is near a bird. His eyes looked strangely at Bella, and there was an expression in them that she did not understand. It filled her with fear. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor anything she had been ready for. He simply looked at her with a strange expression on his face. Bella went to him. Jim, dear, she cried, don't look at me like that. I had my hair cut off and sold it. I couldn't live through Christmas without giving you a gift. My hair will grow again. You won't care, will you? My hair grows very fast. It's Christmas, Jim. Let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I got for you. You cut off your hair? Asked Jim slowly. He seemed to labor to understand what had happened. He seemed not to feel sure he knew. Cut it off and sold it, said Della. Don't you like me now? I'm me, Jim. I'm the same without my hair. Jim looked around the room. You say your hair is gone, he said. You don't have to look for it, said Della. It's sold. I tell you, sold and gone too. It's the night before Christmas, boy. Be good to me, because I sold it for you. Maybe the hairs on my head could be counted, she said, but no one could ever count my love for you. Shall we eat dinner, Jim? Jim put his arms around his Della. For 10 seconds, let us look in another direction. $8 a week or $1 million a year. How different are they? Someone may give you an answer, but it will be wrong.
para lang makatagag something presyo sa imong inigugma. Tungod kay you are focused on practicality man, like ana murag di necessary kay gas nagkwarta inga na sa ila pikas more on emotion is more on true love, like nga nihatag lang jud mo nga hatag lang ng hatag ba without measuring the value ba nga na.
First picture.
So, sige, tagaan mo og mga 10 minutes para magsabot mo to prepare. So, nga may elementary. Thank you, guys. Economist man mo. Oh, balik kang explain Randy.
Yes, sila kay sila may muhatag without measuring the without kanang minding the cost ba. Inyo ha, like
Maglisod sila pero ang thought even though
naglisod sila, muhatag yapon sila, di sila magmain sa.
Pwede ba ang economist mo kay kung may nga pag-economist
Kanang live by the means ba inga na ba?
pero ang economist diya is
Live according to your means.
magsige diya mo og measure sa kung kaya ba ninyo
Di na to ma-afford inga na ba?
mas mag-base mo sa iyong budget sa money ba yan na. So in this time this economist na negative mo. Kano ka negative?
Opposition between the chair.
Para ninyo, palag niya. Motion. Is it acceptable to sacrifice something valuable just to buy an expensive gift for someone you love?
So into no, into yes.
Yes, we can buy an expensive gift to give to our loved ones. Ako, bili mo. Tagaan mo ng idea ha.
De, i-justify ninyo nga nung dili na siya necessary. Kamo i-justify ninyo nga balag.
Is it acceptable to sacrifice something valuable just to buy an expensive gift for someone you love? Siguro, kitahay. Paano na eh? Kitahay. Sample running argument. For example, sample argument. For example, sa affirmative side, we don't care kung unsa na siya ka-expensive as long as it's for love. Sample, for the negative part or for the economist, why do we need to give up something so valuable? Why do we need to give something expensive? Kung pwede mo ita makahatag og lain. Nga na siya. Huh?
De, never mind na to, basta ka na.
Mahurot tayo ng 10 minutes. Parliamentary. Sige, kuhan. While nag-prepare mo, sige, mag-prepare sa laman mo, guys.
Turap, swap na sila, Lord.
4:30. 4:30. 30.
At 4:37, magsugod na. Ito, ni Gina. Oy, ma-stress. Pagdawin ka na.
Guys, basig mayo mo kuha na like mo-appeal unta ko sa mas mayora nga mapungki ko na kumo-appeal ko. Pero gusto ko kumo-appeal kay basig mayo mag-unfair pa nga ako dare. So
Mabungkig, wala ba o isa? O, maningon si ma'am. Maningon si ma'am. Ha? O, basta na yung ngay pass. Kulay kira. Depende mo. Kung ma'am pwede habol Monday or napakay pila ka minutes.
4:31.
Let me see. Excuse me, sir. This is the question. This one.
Thank you po.
Kala floor gamit tayo mong pagmamahal. Kisa nag-ibig. Maling grupo ka. Ikaw ang biceps. Jay.
It's enough, guys.
Pa-check na ulit. Pa-check na ulit. My grammar.
May nagbigil na. Okay, start in 3.
Papa Sir Well, nag-CR pa. Ano pa 2 minutes?
Naglawi yung hantong, yung hantong.
Will, dagan!
Loy, pas, Loy. Pas, Loy. Gusto ko pula.
So, ang dagan naman sa debate is parliamentary, British parliamentary flow, pero dito naman kayo British parliamentary, kahit tuwa naman eh. So, opening statement, rebuttal, and then open poy. 1 minute, then conclusion. Ito lang. Ikaw mag 1 minute, ikaw mag 1 minute. O, mag-decide na mo kinsa inyong kuan, opening. Unsa inyo ang main argument?
Kailan tong time ato yor?
1 minute. Sige na, pwede na. Kisa opening statement sa affirmative. Sir Well, agari sa negative. Jasmine. Ikaw? Uy. Sige na ko na. So mag-start na. Laban na. Ang una gani sa affirmative. 1 minute ka from opening statement down to conclusion. Sige, isa. So, our debate will start with the motion. Is it acceptable to sacrifice something valuable just to buy an expensive gift for someone you love? Starting with the affirmative side. You have 1 minute to present your argument.
Good day. So we stand in the belief that as ordinary people, we should be willing to sacrifice something to give a meaningful gift without measuring its price. So true giving is not about price, it is about intention, effort, and love. A gift that requires sacrifice carries a deeper meaning because it shows that someone was willing to give us something of their own just to make another person happy. So as seen in the gift of the Magi, the most meaningful gifts are not the most expensive ones, but those given with genuine sacrifice, even when the outcome seems impractical. The love behind the act makes it priceless. So we are not arguing against practicality. We are saying that human connection should not be limited by it. Because at the end of the day, people may forget how much gift costs, but they will never forget how much it meant.
Okay na to yung point. So, for the negative side, you have one. You have 1 minute to present your argument.
No. No, which means we should not sacrifice valuable things just to buy expensive gifts for our loved ones. So from an economic point of view, resources such as money, time, and effort are limited. This is based on the idea of scarcity, which means we must use what we have wisely. If we sacrifice important needs like savings, education, or even expenses just to buy expensive gifts, we are making a poor decision. Alright? This relates to opportunity cost. We're choosing one thing means giving up something more important. The money spent on an expensive gift could have been used for necessities or future needs. In addition, expensive gifts don't always guarantee greater happiness. Again, expensive gifts do not always guarantee greater happiness. So, economically, this reflects diminishing marginal utility, where the satisfaction from something decreases as spending increases. A costly gift may not bring significantly more happiness.
Okay, your 1 minute is up. So thank you both, affirmative and negative side. So for this part, we will be giving you the POI for 5 minutes. Free rebuttals from each group, starting with affirmative.
Go.
5 minutes. Open po ini si Jaha. So after, pabagod.
So we are not saying that expensive gifts automatically bring happiness. What we're defending is the sacrifice and intention behind the gift. It is not about price itself. So the value comes from the emotional meaning, not from how costly the gift is. So that's the point. I love it. When someone sacrifices something important, it shows sincerity and deep love, which can truly make a person feel valued and appreciated. So in this way can prove my love towards him one day.
Pwede.
But there are many other ways to prove to show your love to someone. There are many other ways. Show your love.
Lain na po.
Go. Go.
Kailan makastorya ito na?
You mentioned about sacrifices and giving time, and so from the gift of the Magi, Dell and Jim sacrificed their most valuable possessions, leaving them with useless homes and shame. Proving sacrifice often results in mutual regret and poverty, not wisdom. It is by Henry, and true love builds security, not destroys assets.
No, because according to Gary Chapman, a counselor and author who introduced the idea of 5 love languages, one of this is gift-giving. So this is where people express love through giving meaningful gifts, especially when effort is involved.
Chapman stresses that receiving gifts matter through thoughtfulness, not costly sacrifice. Other love language like quality time thrive without giving up valuables. So why risk ruin when practical giving shows love sustainability?
Why is doing and practical giving shows love sustainability?
Regarding scarcity and opportunity cost, people make choices based on what they value most. If someone chooses to spend more on gift for a loved one, it's relationship. Opportunity cost does not always mean loss. It can also mean choosing something meaningful over something practical.
I think it normalizes financial self-sacrifice for appearances. When commoners begin to believe that love must be proven through expensive gifts, they may feel pressured to spend beyond their means. This creates a culture where people compete materially, even if it damages their financial well-being.
Well, I feel that this creates pressure. You argue that this creates pressure, but pressure only exists when actions are forced. We are talking about voluntary sacrifice, where a person chooses to give because they genuinely want to, not because they are expected.
Also, expensive gifts don't necessarily make relationships stronger. Di ba na mag-base na if maghatag ka kanang strong, strong, strong. Expensive gifts is mag-last ang relationship, di ba? So, ano magpalit kung mag-guna?
No, it's not about the expensive gift. It's about the thought, the willingness to give for your loved one. Your willingness to give. But we have many ways to buy some. And we have many ways to give someone without buying. Imagine now in society experience scarcity. At community na ako nakakuha daw ka ng mga very poor enough, nga kanang mobile tao mga expensive gift. Now we know our community today na experience of scarcity, what ay ka nang ikapalit o mga mahalang nga mga gifts. Why buying such expensive gift for loved ones, even though kanang natin mga ways, mga better ways. Oh, kanang example mga letter. You can express your love just like writing a letter without buying expensive gift.
Nabawa ka na ka-storya.
Money matters, but relationships matter too. A responsible sacrifice for someone you love is not a loss. It's an investment in something more meaningful. We are not promoting poverty. We are promoting priority.
Speaking of sacrifice, Jay, would you sacrifice your kid in order for you to buy an iPhone for your loved one?
Yes, especially if it is my father, parents.
So extreme sacrifice often creates an unintended burden of gratitude that can stifle a relationship. When one partner gives up something of immense value, it can lead to an imbalance where the receiver feels a permanent sense of indebtedness or guilt rather than joy. So, di ba sa love language, according ni Gray Chapman, karang ang goal sa love language is to fill the partner's emotional tank in a way that is sustainable. If a gift involves the destruction of one's own resources, like the hair or watch sa katong story, it leaves the giver empty, making them less capable of supporting their partner in the future.
Well, I don't think that they're giving a useless things or it will spend to something that are not really valuable because as said in the story, it can be valuable but not in that time because at that time it's not. They say that it's nice to use because the things that they can use of those things that they bought for their partner is not really readily available. And according to Harvard Business School, that people who spend given
here is expensive.
Gifts.
Is it writing a letter expensive? No.
It is.
Yes, depending on the material that you're going to use. You're not declaring what material you're going to use. Say, for instance, you're going to use some expensive paper, expensive pen. It still costs money. And then, of course, if you're agreeing, if you're saying that expensive gifts, you want to be practical, you always be practical, but you're not declaring what type of material that you're using. You're telling us that we are spending money on impractical things, but we are giving gifts so that the one that received the gifts will feel better those times that they received the gift.
Why would you spend on an expensive gift or an expensive ball pen or an expensive paper when you could just make someone feel loved with just the letter or just even if you write in terms of paper, if someone appreciates you, they would appreciate what you give. And also, if they have also, if they are affectionate towards you, they would appreciate it and they would feel better.
So for our side, it is because different people expresses love in different ways. Some give through time, effort, or presence, while others choose to give something valuable they work hard for. What's important is they are happy and they work hard for it.
Oh, katangawa pa ka storya.
My life.
Siya mo?
You said that different people have different ways of expressing love. So as the economy is hard, financial stability should always be prioritized over emotional spending. Sacrificing valuable assets for an expensive gifts can reduce your savings, create financial vulnerability, or even lead to debt. Rational decision-making focuses on the long-term benefits. Making such sacrifices economically is unwise.
Prioritize yung mga oras.
Basta, love is sacrifice. No? Because true love is shown through the willingness.
Also, as he said, this is very expensive assets mobility in this discussion is not based on cost alone. What makes the act meaningful is the intention and voluntary choice behind it. And expense is only a financial factor but love is an emotional decision. So if a person really chooses to sacrifice something valuable without being forced and without harming their basic needs, then the act becomes not an expression of love, not a financial mistake. Therefore, the expenditure should focus not on how expensive the gift is, but on why it was given and what it represents in the relationship.
Ba naman?
Giving love is not just about sacrificing valuable things. From an economic perspective, love should be expressed in ways that are sustainable and rational. Kaya nga naman, love should not be measured by how much you lose, but how wisely you give. True affection does not require expensive sacrifices. It thrives on meaningful, sustainable actions. sacrifice is often against. It strengthens trust, deepens connection, and shows commitment in a way that words.
Remark, building.
Oh, complete kami. Okay kami?
Okay, let's
Okay
read.
kami? Oh, you're confused.
Okay, let's be real. Okay, let's be real. And in addition, love shouldn't require that kind of sacrifice. If someone really cares about you, they wouldn't want you to give up something important just to impress them or make a grand gesture. In fact, it could even backfire. Imagine how they'd feel knowing you gave up something meaningful just to buy them a gift that might create guilt instead of happiness. Plus, there are so many ways for us to show love that don't involve losing something valuable to you. How about time, effort, thoughtfulness? Those matter way more than price tags.
Quality time.
Quality time, correct.
Or is affirmation.
Sound?
Have you got enough? Ask some service. Is that enough?
Kinsa wala para
We're not
speaker.
yet done.
You said that time is, why don't you give time?
Just
Time is given enough. Time is given. Pero, bakit di makamahagan o something ko? You're just saying that there are a lot of ways in showing love. Pero nga, hindi kaya mo to give that valuable or expensive gift. Why are you saying that you can show love in many ways? In fact,
No, if love depends on expensive giving or major sacrifices becomes a difficult to maintain. A relationship built on practical and balanced effort is more stable in the long run because true affection does not require expensive sacrifices.
It's difficult to maintain.
I think that will conclude our nakayuha. That concludes our open interpellation, and now for the concluding part, we have the affirmative side.
So in conclusion, we affirm that giving a meaningful gift is not about measuring its price, but about the willingness to sacrifice something for someone else. The negative side may emphasize practicality, but life is more than calculations and efficiency. Human relationships are built on sincerity, effort, and the ability to put others before ourselves. When we sacrifice even in small ways, we show a depth of care that money alone can never express. As reflected in the gift of the Magi, what may seem impractical in economic terms can be priceless in human meaning, because the true worth of a gift lies not in what is spent, but in what is given up.
Okay, thank you. Affirmative side. Now we have the concluding. Ikaw?
In conclusion, sa outside, sacrificing something valuable just to buy expensive gift is not rational decision because it ignores opportunity cost, reduces long-term financial stability, and leads to inefficient use of limited resources. While the intention may be to express love, higher spending does not necessarily increase
sacrifices that may harm oneself in the long run.
Also, thank you for the affirmative and the negative side. So, next yung presentation sa ideas nga 5 minutes lang na to open interpretation pero marag pila na to ka minutes gi-adjust si Karate 15 to 20 no. If we're gonna view it siguro no, the question is it acceptable? It is acceptable. However, it depends nimo kung imo bang buhaton. Oh, nga na. But the thing is, love will always require sacrifice. Nga na, bitaw sila nga, the greatest love story told, and the greatest act of love done was sacrifice. And, asa na natin makita? Nasa context sa Bible. Kung sa giwa ni Jesus Christ for us. However, sa panahon na to karon, di ingon nga kung gusto ko danha, automatic mo palit sa mga og mahal kay wa jud. Wa jud. You spend siguro if you want to buy that expensive gift, magtigom ka. Kaya sa ating economy karon kung magpalit-palit murag di na jud enough ang bahalag saging basta lami. Di na gani na enough or naminaw. No, but wala to siya. Love requires sacrifice, pero at the same time, have consideration. So that concludes our debate activity for this afternoon and goodbye.